first time my husband blamed me for our childless marriage, he did it with a serving spoon in his hand. That detail still bothers me. Not because the spoon mattered. It was potato salad. Very aggressive potato salad, actually. His mother put celery in it like she was trying to start a fight with texture. We were standing in Elaine Miller's kitchen during Sunday dinner, surrounded by cousins, casseroles, and the kind of family noise that makes you want to hide in a bathroom and pretend you're checking the weather. Grant's aunt had just announced that her daughter was pregnant. Everyone clapped. I clapped too. Because I'm not a monster. I just clapped with the enthusiasm of a woman whose uterus had been discussed more than the national debt. Then Elaine sighed and said, "Maybe one day we'll get news like that from you two." There it was. The monthly fertility grenade. I looked down at my plate. Grant put his hand on my lower back. Soft. Public. Performative. Then he said loud enough for everyone near the island to hear, "I can't build a family by myself." The kitchen went quiet in that awful polite way people do when they are pretending they didn't just watch someone get slapped with words. I stared at him. My husband. The man who had watched me cry over negative pregnancy tests. The man who had held my hand during blood draws. The man who once told me I was so strong while I was injecting hormones in my stomach like a very sad science project. And there he was, turning me into the problem between bites of potato salad. I laughed once, tiny, wrong, because my body didn't know what else to do. Then someone spoke from the doorway. Funny. Everyone turned. Rebecca Shaw stood there, holding a brown envelope against her chest. Grant's ex-wife. Not a hallucination, though honestly, that would have been less awkward. She looked at Grant, not me. "You said the same thing about me," she said, before the doctor said it was you. The serving spoon slipped from Grant's hand and hit the tile. No one moved. Not even Elaine. And for the first time in 4 years, I felt something besides shame. I felt the floor shift. Because maybe my body had never been the thing failing us. Maybe the lie had been standing beside me the whole time. 4 years of trying to get pregnant teaches you things nobody puts in the cute little baby planning blogs. You learn that people will say, "Just relax," with the confidence of someone who thinks ovaries are customer service representatives. You learn that pregnancy tests are basically tiny white sticks of emotional terrorism. You learn not to buy baby clothes, just in case. Because hope folded in a drawer can rot faster than milk. Grant and I started trying 2 years into our marriage. At first, it was almost sweet. We joked about baby names. We argued over whether a child could survive being named after his grandfather, Milton. I said no child should begin life sounding like a retired accountant with knee pain. Grant laughed then. He used to laugh easily. Month 1 passed. Then month 6. Then, year 1. By year 2, my phone was full of apps tracking my cycle, my temperature, my moods, my cervical mucus, and possibly my soul. I don't know. Those apps get personal. I went to appointments before work. I had ultrasounds at 7 a.m. with technicians who were very kind and very casual about putting equipment inside my body before I'd had coffee. I changed my diet. I stopped drinking wine. I ate Brazil nuts because a woman in a fertility forum said they helped. And apparently desperation tastes like dirt and regret. Grant came to some appointments, not all. Work, he said. Meetings, he said. Big client, he said. But he was always there afterward, playing the supportive husband. "You're amazing," he would say. "You're so strong." Strong. God, I grew to hate that word. Strong is what people call you when they need you to keep suffering without making them uncomfortable. The doctors tested me, blood work, scans, hormone levels, tubes, everything. I became a file. A chart, a woman with numbers. And every time something came back normal, Grant would say, "That's good, right?" He said it like good news annoyed him. Once, the fertility specialist mentioned a follow-up test for Grant. "Male factor is common," she said. Grant smiled tightly. "Already did 1 year ago. I'm fine." I remember looking at him. "Years ago, before us," he shrugged. Routine. That word, routine. Men hide entire landfills under routine. I let it go, because I trusted him. And because honestly, after months of being poked, scanned, measured, and politely pitied, I was too tired to fight a man who sounded sure. That was my mistake. One of them, not the biggest, but one I kept paying for. Elaine Miller never called me infertile. She was too polished for that. She preferred softer weapons. Well, some women take longer. Stress can close the body. Maybe Hannah should stop working so much. As if my ovaries were union employees protesting office hours. I managed the front office of a pediatric clinic in Charlotte, which meant every day I checked in children with sticky hands, missing shoes, runny noses, and parents who believed just a quick question should legally last 20 minutes. I loved kids. That was the cruel little joke. I spent my days scheduling newborn visits for other women while quietly bleeding through my own hope every month. At home, Grant never corrected his mother. Not once. He would squeeze my knee under the table while Elaine made little comments about God's timing. Public affection, private silence. A beautiful combo if you enjoy emotional food poisoning. My best friend Maya noticed before I admitted it. Maya worked as an OB nurse and had the calm anger of a woman who had watched too many husbands faint during epidurals and then call themselves traumatized. One night, she came over with takeout and found me reorganizing the medicine cabinet. Hannah. What? You alphabetized the vitamins. So? Nobody alphabetizes prenatal vitamins unless they're one casserole comment away from biting someone. I sat on the bathroom floor. There was a box of injection needles beside me, still sealed. Maya picked it up and frowned. Grant doing his follow-up test? He said he doesn't need one. Her face changed. Not dramatic, just still. Doesn't need one or doesn't want one. He said he tested fine before. When? Before us. She stared at me. Hannah. I know. No, you don't. Men who are truly fine do not treat a cup in a lab room like a hostage negotiation. I almost laughed. Almost. Then I found the email. It was buried in an old clinic portal message I had ignored because the subject line looked boring enough to be government issued. Follow-up recommendation. I opened it while Maya stood behind me. There it was. Male factor follow-up recommended. My chest tightened. The message was dated 2 years earlier. Grant had been copied. I read it twice, then a third time, because apparently pain becomes clearer with repetition. Maya whispered, "Did he ever mention this?" I shook my head. Downstairs, Grant's car pulled into the driveway. I closed the laptop fast, like I was the one hiding something. That's when I knew how deep the damage had gone. I was afraid to ask my own husband why he had hidden a medical email about our own marriage. Rebecca texted me the morning after the potato salad execution. I didn't know she had my number. That alone felt illegal in a social way. Her message was short. I'm sorry about yesterday. You deserve the full truth. Coffee? Neutral place. Neutral place. As if we were negotiating peace between two small nations and one lying husband. I stared at the phone in the clinic break room while a microwave burrito rotated sadly beside me. Maya, who had stopped by after her night shift because apparently sleep was optional when drama was available, leaned over my shoulder. Reply yes. I don't know. She publicly nuked your husband in a kitchen. At least hear the weather report. I don't want to become friends with Grant's ex-wife. Who said friends? This is reconnaissance with lattes. So I met Rebecca at a cafe in Dilworth. She was already there, sitting near the window, hands wrapped around a paper cup. She looked tired in the way women look when they have rehearsed a conversation too many times. I sat down. This is weird, I said. Rebecca nodded. So weird. Good. At least we had honesty. She pushed the brown envelope across the table. I should have told you sooner. Why didn't you? She looked down. Because leaving Grant took everything I had. I didn't want to stay connected to anything about him. That was not the answer I expected. It was too human. I hated when people became human. It made anger less tidy. I opened the envelope. Medical records. Old ones. Grant's name. Dates from his first marriage. A lab report with language I didn't fully understand, but enough words jumped out. Severe male factor infertility. Low count. Poor motility. Further treatment recommended. My mouth went dry. Rebecca spoke quietly. He knew before he married you. The cafe noise blurred. Milk steaming. Chairs scraping, someone laughing too loudly near the counter. I hated them for laughing. He told me it was stress, Rebecca said. Then he told his mother I was the reason we couldn't have children. I looked at her. Elaine knew? Rebecca's mouth tightened. She knew there was a medical issue. I don't know how much Grant told her, but she chose his version. Of course she did. Mothers can believe Olympic-level nonsense when their sons hand it to them with sad eyes. Rebecca pulled out one more paper. A printed message. Grant to Rebecca. Years ago. It's easier if they think it's her. I stared at that sentence until my vision blurred. Not because Grant couldn't have children. Because he let me believe I was broken. So he didn't have to feel ashamed. I drove home with Rebecca's envelope on the passenger seat. It sat there like a body, not moving, still somehow taking up the whole car. At a red light, I looked over at it and whispered, "Well, that's fun." A woman in the car next to me saw me talking to an envelope and quickly looked away. Fair. I got home before Grant. The house was quiet, which felt rude. Houses should react when marriages collapse. A small groan, a light flicker. Maybe the dishwasher vomiting sparks. Nothing. Just the refrigerator humming and the clock over the stove ticking like it had somewhere better to be. I opened the fridge. There it was. The white box. My hormone injections. Right between oat milk and a half-dead bag of spinach I kept pretending I would use. I took the box out and set it on the counter. For months, I had treated that box like hope. Cold, expensive hope. I remembered every injection. Pinching skin on my stomach, counting to 3. Stopping at 2 because 3 felt dramatic. Trying again. Grant standing outside the bathroom once saying, "You're so strong, babe." He didn't come in. He didn't learn how to do it. He didn't say, "Maybe I should be checked again." He let me bleed, bloat, bruise, and blame myself. I opened the kitchen drawer where we kept medical papers, warranties, expired coupons, and 3 tape measures because adulthood is just losing one and buying another. Under a stack of insurance forms, I found a folder with Grant's name, hidden badly. Men think under papers is a vault. Inside were lab bills, receipts, a specialist visit from 6 months ago. 6 months. While Elaine was asking when I would give her a grandchild, Grant had been quietly seeing a male fertility specialist and saying nothing. My hands were very calm, too calm. That scared me. Then I found the note, not handwritten, printed, a summary from the doctor. Diagnosis consistent with severe male factor infertility. Patient counseled on donor sperm and assisted reproduction options. Donor sperm. He knew. He had options. He had choices. And he still let me sit through family dinners like I was a defective appliance waiting for repair. My phone buzzed. "Grant, leaving work. Want anything?" I looked at the injection box. Then at the documents. I typed, "No, I have plenty." I didn't send it. Too theatrical. Instead I wrote, "Drive safe." Then I took photos of every page. Because heartbreak is one thing. Evidence is another. Maya read the records at my kitchen table the next morning. She didn't speak for a full minute. That was impressive for Maya. Usually her silence lasted only long enough to reload. Finally she put the papers down and said, "I want to be clear. I am not allowed to punch him as a medical professional." Good. As your friend, the policy is less clear. I laughed. It came out cracked, but it came out. She pointed at the report. "Hannah, this isn't vague, this isn't maybe, this is documented male factor infertility." "I know. No, I need you to hear me. Your body was not the problem he said it was." The words hit harder than I expected. I had spent years wanting someone to tell me that. Doctors had said my tests looked normal. Maya had hinted. My own gut had whispered. But shame is sticky. It clings even when evidence walks in wearing boots. I looked at the injection box on the counter. I did all that. Maya's face softened. "I know. I let people think it was me." "You didn't let them. He trained the room to look at you." That sentence sat between us. He trained the room. Yes, Grant never had to shout. He just tilted the story. A comment here. A sad smile there. A hand on my back while his mother sighed about grandchildren. Tiny movements. Big damage. Maya flipped to the printed message from Rebecca. "It's easier if they think it's her." She exhaled. "Oh, I hate him with organization." "Same. What are you going to do? Confront him?" "No." I blinked. "No, not yet." She tapped the papers. "You need copies, a lawyer, financial records, a clean timeline. I'm not building a federal case. You should, emotionally at least." I rubbed my forehead. I just want him to admit it. Maya looked at me with a kindness I did not deserve at that hour. "Hannah, people like Grant don't admit things because truth knocks politely. They admit things when lies run out of furniture to hide behind." She was right. Annoying. So we made copies, scanned documents, saved screenshots. Maya labeled a folder on my laptop, "Grant Fertility Lies." Then she changed it to "Evidence." "Too aggressive?" she asked. Honestly, I liked the first one. That afternoon, I called Nora Patel, a family lawyer Maya knew. Nora's assistant asked the reason for consultation. I looked at the injection box. Then at Grant's medical report. Marriage, I said. Then I corrected myself. Fraud with wedding photos. Grant came home that night, carrying flowers. That was how I knew something was wrong. Grant did not buy flowers unless he had either forgotten an occasion or needed me emotionally distracted. These were grocery store roses with one bent stem and the little plastic packet of flower food taped to the side. Romance, but make it pre-apology. Thought you might like these, he said. I looked at them. Did they come with a confession or just bacteria? He blinked. What? Nothing. He kissed my cheek. I let him. Not because I wanted it, because I wanted to know what he would do next. We ate dinner. Chicken, rice, green beans I overcooked because I was watching his face instead of the stove. At one point he said, maybe we should take a break from trying. I set my fork down. There it was. Soft voice. Concerned face. A man wearing kindness like a borrowed coat. I just hate seeing you disappointed every month, he said. I stared at him. Me? Well, us, both of us. Interesting. His eyes narrowed slightly. What does that mean? It means I'm wondering when you decided disappointment belonged mostly to me. He sighed. Hannah, I'm trying to be supportive. Are you? He leaned back. Why are you picking a fight? That almost made me laugh. Picking a fight. I had medical records in my laptop and hormone bruises on my stomach, but sure, I was the one arriving armed. I asked quietly, have you ever hidden test results from me? He froze. Not long. Half a second. Enough. No, I nodded. Never? No. Why would you ask that? Because the clinic recommended male factor follow-up 2 years ago. His face tightened. That was nothing. Nothing? Routine. There was that word again, crawling back into the room with muddy shoes. Did you go? He stood and picked up his plate. I don't want to do this tonight. Do what? Be interrogated. I watched him walk to the sink. The old me would have followed, apologized, said I was stressed, made his discomfort smaller so mine could stay polite. Not this time. This time I sat still and felt something surprising. Not rage, not even heartbreak. Clarity. He had lied so many times that watching him do it now felt almost boring, like recognizing a bad magician's trick. The next morning, I met Nora Patel. Her office smelled like coffee and expensive paper. She listened without interrupting, which is a rare and alarming skill. When I finished, she said, the infertility isn't the legal issue. I know. The pattern of deception, financial decisions, and public defamation may matter. Defamation. A fancy word for what Grant had done with potato salad in his hand. Nora closed the folder. Do not confront him alone if you want the truth to stay intact. I looked out her window toward the street. I don't want revenge, Nora nodded. Good. Then she smiled slightly. Documentation works better anyway. I invited everyone to my house on a Thursday evening. Grant thought it was dinner. Elaine thought it was an apology. Rebecca knew better. Maya brought brownies because she said every public collapse needed carbs. Nora told me not to host this meeting like a courtroom. I said fine. Then I arranged documents on the table in chronological order. Personal growth is not a straight line. Elaine arrived first, wearing pearls and suspicion. Hannah, I hope this isn't about Sunday. She said. It is. She sighed. Families say things. Funny, that's exactly the problem. Grant came in behind her and stopped when he saw Rebecca at the table. His face changed. Not dramatically. Grant was too controlled for that, but his jaw tightened. That was enough. What is she doing here? He asked. Rebecca answered before I could. Telling the truth. Weird hobby, I know. Maya made a tiny coughing sound that was absolutely a laugh wearing a coat. I stood at the end of the table. My hands were cold. I hated that. I wanted them steady, elegant. Movie trailer ready. Instead, one thumb kept rubbing the side of my index finger like it was trying to erase skin. Grant, I said, for 4 years you let me believe I was the reason we couldn't have a child. He looked at Elaine, not at me. Interesting. Hannah, this is private. No, I said. You made it public when you said you couldn't build a family by yourself in your mother's kitchen. Elaine shifted. I'm sure he didn't mean. He meant it, Rebecca said softly. The room went still. I placed the first record on the table. Then the second, then the message. It's easier if they think it's her. Elaine picked it up, her face strained. Grant? He looked angry now. Finally. She's twisting this. Rebecca laughed once. Grant, it's your text. He pointed at her. You had no right. That sentence did it. Not the lies. Not even the shame. The entitlement. You let both of us think we were broken, I said. You let your mother blame us. You watched me inject myself with hormones while you already knew. His voice dropped. I was embarrassed. Maya leaned forward. Oh good. That makes the medical gaslighting adorable. Elaine sat down slowly. For once she had no comment about trying harder. Grant looked at me. I was scared you'd leave. I nodded. So you made sure I hated my own body instead. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. And in that silence the whole room finally heard what I had been living with. After everyone left, Grant and I stood in the kitchen. The documents were still on the table. The brownies were untouched except for the corner Maya had eaten for strength. Grant looked smaller. I wish that had made me feel powerful. It didn't. It made me tired. He stood near the sink, hands gripping the counter. I didn't know how to tell you. I laughed, not loudly, just enough to hurt both of us. So you tried never? He closed his eyes. I was ashamed. I was ashamed too, Grant. But mine was borrowed. You handed it to me. He flinched. Good. No, not good. I didn't want to enjoy hurting him. I just wanted him to understand the size of what he had done. I thought if everyone blamed you, he said quietly, it would give me time. Time for what? He didn't answer. Time to become fertile through prayer and avoiding paperwork. His mouth tightened. That's cruel. Yes, I said. I learned from the best. He looked at me then. Really looked. I wanted kids, I know. I wanted them with you. That one landed, because it sounded true. And truth from a liar is a nasty little thing. It doesn't fix anything, but it makes leaving hurt more. I leaned against the counter. The problem was never that you couldn't give me a baby. His face crumpled. It wasn't? No. And I meant that. Infertility would not have ended us. Donor sperm, IVF, adoption, fostering, a life without children. We could have talked. We could have grieved. We could have built something honest out of disappointment. But Grant chose reputation over partnership. He protected his pride and handed me the shame. I walked to the fridge and took out the empty injection box. I had kept it for months because throwing it away felt like quitting. Now it felt like evidence from a crime scene only I had survived. I set it on the counter between us. You watched me do this. I know. You watched me break pieces of myself trying to fix a problem you already knew wasn't mine. His eyes filled. I'm sorry. I wanted that apology years ago, before the bruises, before Elaine's comments, before I started seeing my body as an enemy. Now it arrived late and underdressed. I took off my wedding ring. My fingers shook. Annoying but honest. I placed it beside the box. Grant whispered, Hannah. No, I said, a small word, a door closing. You didn't lose me because you were infertile. You lost me because you made me carry your lie. The divorce did not turn me into a glowing phoenix. I wish. Mostly I became a woman with legal bills, freezer meals, and a new hatred for shared passwords. Nora handled the paperwork. Grant tried to keep things civil, which apparently meant quiet enough that nobody at work asks why my wife left. That was cute. Like putting a napkin over a house fire. Rebecca gave a statement. Maya gave me snacks and emotional profanity. Elaine called once, crying. I didn't know, she said. I believed her. Partly. But not knowing is not the same as being innocent when you spent years making little cuts in someone else's confidence. I'm sorry, she said. I stood in my apartment kitchen, staring at a box of dishes I still hadn't unpacked. I hear you. That was all I could give her. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe someday. Maybe not. People rush women to forgive because our anger makes the furniture uncomfortable. Let it be uncomfortable. Grant's image cracked, not spectacularly. No public scandal. No dramatic resignation. Just whispers. Family members stopped treating him like the poor husband with the broken wife. A few colleagues heard enough to look at him differently. Elaine stopped making grandmother comments, which was the least impressive miracle. But I'll take it. Rebecca and I didn't become best friends. This is not a movie where two ex-wives ride into the sunset with matching mugs that say survivors. But we met once after the papers were filed. She said, I should have told you sooner. I said, yes. Then after a minute I added, thank you for telling me at all. Both things were true. I moved into a small apartment near Freedom Park. It had thin walls, decent light, and a neighbor who played saxophone badly on Sundays. Not good badly. Brave badly. At first I hated it. Then I got used to it. Then one morning I woke up and realized I had slept through the night without dreaming of pregnancy tests. That felt like peace. Small peace. But mine. I still worked at the pediatric clinic. I still loved babies. That part didn't disappear. Wanting a child had never been the shameful thing. The shame was never mine. One evening, I cleaned out my fridge and found an old, empty medication tray tucked behind the mustard. I held it for a second, then threw it away. No ceremony, no speech, just the dull plastic sound of it hitting the trash. My body was never the lie. He was. 6 months later, I saw Rebecca at the same cafe in Dilworth. Neither of us planned it. She was ordering tea. I was buying coffee strong enough to legally count as a warning label. We stood there awkwardly for a second, two women connected by the same man's cowardice and the worst fertility plot twist nobody asked for. Then she said, "How are you?" I almost gave the polite answer, "Fine." Instead I said, "Better." Still weird. She smiled. Same. We sat together for 20 minutes. We did not cry. We did not braid each other's hair. We did not form a dramatic ex-wife alliance, though Maya later said that was a missed branding opportunity. We just talked. About therapy. About how shame lingers even after truth shows up with receipts. About how Grant always said routine when he meant don't look closer. When I left, the air outside felt warm and ordinary. I walked through Freedom Park that afternoon with no plan. Kids ran past me. A toddler dropped a cracker and screamed like capitalism had failed. I laughed. Not bitterly, just laughed. I still didn't know if motherhood was in my future. Maybe donor conception, maybe adoption, maybe a life I hadn't pictured yet. But for the first time in years, the question didn't feel like a verdict. It felt like a door. And I was the one holding the key.